Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're looking at one of the narcissistic traits, as well as that is exhibited by the psychopathic psychopathy that we see in really the cluster B personality disorders, is defined by this DSM-5R, and that is the trait of pathological envy. Pathological envy is a state when someone is constantly sizing themselves up, comparing themselves to another, where they feel that they are lacking in some way. They're constantly using a measure stick to really define themselves as how they relate to other people. And so they don't have an internal locus of self-measurement, which means, in other words, am I doing the best that I can? Am I being the best person that I am? Am I following my own goals, visions, dreams, desires that I have set forth for myself? Or am I more gauging it from what is in the environment? And am I trying to look outside of me for who I should be, rather than it coming from within? So in other words, trying to get, I would call it like the shiny object syndrome. So looking at, situations where they can, shine because of being objectified, or shine because of certain ways that they've put people down or gotten accomplishments, versus being, these external motives, these external agendas, versus really being internally driven and having, coming from a place of security, being one's best, and not as it relates to sizing oneself or being envious of others. It's coming from a state of security versus insecurity, coming from a state of trust versus distrust, coming from a state of self-esteem versus low self-esteem. And realize that the self-esteem is a very much different experience of life versus a low self-esteem experience of life. The narcissist, the psychopath, contrary to their outer mask of being dominating and control, power wielding, high influence, high status, surrounding themselves with all the toys, the positions, the titles, the women, the watches, the motorcycles, the various sundry wardrobes and things of this nature, the houses, the real estate. I mean, it can go on and on. So contrary to that mask, and it seems like they're really based out of a self-esteem model where they feel good about themselves. They treat others well. They have a sense of connection authentically to their belongings. They have an authentic connection to others. These people who are narcissistic and sociopathic, they are actually coming from a state of void within themselves, a sense of insecurity, a sense of really a need to control and manipulate others, including objects in their environment, to fill this void. So rather than surrounding themselves with things that they truly love, they truly need, they tend to get involved in a lot of materialistic endeavors, filling up this void with, defining themselves by these objects versus how they really identify themselves internally. So they tend to define their self-esteem by their status, by the people who they can put down, by the objects that they can surround themselves with, and sort of, heighten their sense of status by their by what they own, versus having an internal sense of self-esteem and status within themselves. So in other words, if the narcissist and the sociopath are very much defined by the people and material possessions that they have. So everybody does enjoy certain things, belongings, etc., that they have earned in their life. So this is very different experience in life, because one of self-esteem, someone who's coming from a sense of self-esteem and not envy has a sort of self-trust. They're connected to their internal productivity. They're connected to that sort of living their life. So really not being controlled by possessions, not being controlled by status, not defining themselves by their cars, not defining themselves by their houses, not defining themselves by their title per se, or all the various people who they're over. So they have an internal sense of accomplishment which can, no matter what happens, if a hurricane were to destroy their belongings, they would still, of course, would, miss their belongings, but they have this internal sense of I am, which is based in abundance, and that they can recreate this. So their sense of self is really who they've become based on what they've accomplished in their life and what they've done, and they take gratitude with, and substance from other activities, and really sort of create that self, I would say, a credibility within themselves. So it's a presence, which is who they become in their life, and it's not defined by these external objects. So that's why we see oftentimes people who are narcissistic or psychopathic in nature, who are indelibly unhappy, indelibly discontented, really, have a grouchiness to them. In other words, they get easily upset, easily frustrated, easily overwhelmed when things don't go their way. They don't have that internal discipline, that internal self-esteem and security, so they will, lash out into rage. It's just, they're very unhappy. I mean, despite, all the trappings of success. So it's very important to realize that if you experience this around people where they're constantly driven by this external energy, you can kind of pick up on it. You feel like the person is almost not there. They're not really present. They're not really connected to their authentic self, and so you start to feel this division, this coldness, this disconnection, and that there's something really not right about them. Chances are you're picking up on this falseness, that they're in essence presenting a fake mask. They're a fake friend, a fake, person who would talk about you behind your back, who would insult you, who is disingenuous, who puts on a mask, who puts on a parade. And so, generally, even though maybe you were allured by this, you've learned otherwise, that really true connection, true relationships are connecting on a genuine level. It's having a humility, a humbleness, an ability to be open and have an open heart and to learn, and not trying to pretend your way through life, not trying to fake your way through life. Because in essence, that never works. Fakers are posers, they're posers rather than true, having a true sort of internal reservoir of security. And usually you can begin to feel this once you're around them. And so let these people go, because you tend to pick up this negative energy and toxicity, and it will serve only to agitate, frustrate, and get you also detached from your true self, and really, get you off track to where you really want to be in your life. So don't be afraid. Let these people go. Own your independence. Own your freedom. Own your liberation to make choices that better your life, rather than continue to live in a false sort of illusion that is created by a narcissist abuser. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.